Hey everyone, welcome back to Dev Parkour. In this video, we're going to talk more about reflected cross-site scripting. This is actually part 2 of a 3-part mini series. If you haven't seen part 1, I'll leave a link down in the video description. And then when part 3 gets released, there will be a link to that as well. Before we dive into the subject matter for this particular video, I want to kind of pick up where we left off in video 1. In video 1, there were a few kind of rough edges that I left because basically I had to do a little bit of re-architecting. What was happening was we had a partial view that needed to know what page it was being displayed on. We needed to actually propagate that down to that page. So real quick, before we dive into the new cross-site scripting stuff, let me show you what I've actually done for that. So here's Visual Studio Code. Everything happens in this upcoming.php, and the partial that it uses is event list. And we were messing with this self URI function. So just a little quick refresher, that lives in this file over here. We added this base URI parameter. And actually, now that it's required, we can take out this fallback. Yeah. All right. And params, which get appended to the URL, and an allow list of things to get from get and post. Those are the changes that we made to this function. Basically, this constructs a URL from the base URI, any parameters that are specified specifically to create this URI, and anything that's currently a query string parameter. We're using it here to construct basically URIs to, I think, sort this table ascending or descending, and with particular orders, or with the particular columns that we're ordering by. So what I'm doing now is I'm passing a base URI so that this function doesn't have to rely on the super global server request URI value. But in order to get that, because this is a partial, it actually needs to know what page it's coming from. And to make things even more complicated, this page, upcoming.php, is used for a lot of different endpoints. Every single one of these endpoints here actually uses this same upcoming.php. So what we needed to do is figure out, based on the actual page that we're on, what URL we actually need to pass down. So what I'm doing now is basically pulling apart the path. I know that all of these paths follow this template, so /admin/something. And we go through a couple different steps. First, we pull the entire path apart. Secondly, we grab the second segment with a little bit of fallback logic so that if, for whatever reason, we have a bad URL, it just defaults to opportunities, which is the first one. Next, we have a list of valid pages: opportunities, upcoming, past due, blah, 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 blah. And then, if the current page that we're on is one of those pages, then we use that as the current page. Otherwise, we use opportunities. Basically, what this does is it means that if someone tries to throw, bad script like this stuff, it won't propagate into the resulting URL. And that's a decent fallback. So actually this one will work because there's a slash between opportunities and script. But if we change this to, I think past due was one of them, and I'll hit enter, and in just a second this should refresh. Did my Docker container go away again? That would be super frustrating. This happened in the last video too, and I'm not really a fan of that. No, it looks like it's still up and connected to the port. Here we go. No. Let's just view source again. So this is opportunities. So let's change this to past due, and we'll scroll down to the part where all those links were showing up. That's not it. Here you go. You can see it is actually going to opportunities because all of this stuff is bad news, just totally bad news. So we've got that in place. Yep, opportunities looks good. And if we switch this to past due with a perfectly valid URL, when that loads, it should also show past due down here. But I'm not going to wait for that to load because we've got stuff to do in this video. All right, so going back to Visual Studio Code. No, actually going back to AppScan. So we're done with those few. We're actually looking at let's see, somewhere down here. Well, I'm not exactly sure where it is, but what we have is a bunch of like poor 404 handling. So what's happening is if we go to, like, let's pick this opportunity. That's a customer. That'll work. If we put absolute nonsense there, oh, okay, so that's bad news. That's something we'll have to fix later. I believe. Let's see if I can actually find it. I think that'll give us a better idea of what's actually going on. Yeah, here we go. Yep, there we go. So drip campaign / okay, so that's what I had missing. So it was the base URL, but then a / and then some script. So let's just copy that, and I think that'll actually work here as well. Customer /1 / script. Yep, the page, customer, and then some script could not be found. And like we saw in the last video, the browser is actually helping out, and URL encoding some of this stuff before it actually gets sent to the server. But realistically, we can't rely on that. So let's see what we can do. So this is a 404, and this is actually being handled by the Pales like core sorry, can't type and talk at the same time. Handled by the Pales core libraries. It looks like I haven't actually pulled this down. So let's clone that. So that would be git at github.com bparks /pales.git, and that'll pull down into Pales, cd into Pales, and code. Open up Visual Studio Code. Yes, I trust the authors. Let's just check that box so we don't have to see that again. All right. And somewhere in here, let's just search for it. The page. There we go. What are we doing here? Server request URI. Okay, that's probably bad. That's a little naive, right? So let's do just for funsies, let's do URL decode. And actually, let me do this. I'm not actually going to commit this, but let's do this over here. Let's go to Pales. Let's see, vendor Pales, lib. Where was that? Not found result. Yeah, here we go. So URL decode. And why am I doing that, you ask? Because I want to see that. So this is, if the browser weren't URL encoding, you would actually get an alert with this from this URL, which conveniently is just showing up right here. So there you go. You've got your alert. So that's bad, right? But realistically, we kind of want to show on this page exactly what was typed in the URL bar. So at one level, we want to URL decode, but at another level, we want to URL encode that result. So URL encode. And now, well, actually, that's terrible. Let's not do that. What we probably want to do, and what is the most secure thing to do, is just do that. The page could not be found. Period. Okay, problem solved. Let's do that. All right. So obviously this is in our live site, our development site, not in the base library. So we don't want to actually make that change there. We do want to go over here and just take that out. The page cannot be found. That sounds good. Okay, now let's verify we only made that change. Remove XSS in 404 handler. We'll push and 1.2.2. Let's call this 1.2.3. Tag v 1.2.3. Push tags, and just like we did in the last video, we do have to go over here, and it's this Pales update. Invalid composer metadata. Oh, I think I knew that this was happening. There's a weird branch out there that's got some wackiness going on with it. Yeah, what? Yeah, okay, so I do see that it did import the tag. It looks good there. It doesn't like something, but whatever. 1.2.3 shows up there. Let's go back to Glass Minnow and composer JSON Pales 1.2.3. All right, composer update. We got the updated Pales, and there we go. Okay, let's go back to dev, our dev site, and refresh and make sure we still get the right stuff. So it just refreshed, says the page cannot be found. All right, we're all good. And realistically, that's it for this video. It's super simple fix to a problem that was all over the place. Anytime there was a 404 error, it was showing the URL, even if the URL was potentially dangerous. There's no reason to show that. Hopefully, people will never land on this site, on this page. If all links are good. But there we go. That's all fixed. I really think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, click that notification bell, like this video if you found it interesting. I appreciate you hanging out with me and learning how to fix cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. And I hope you'll stay with me for day 3 of fixing cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, where we'll tackle the kind of the typical scenario with cross-site scripting, which is dumping some script into form fields. So thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.